Hey everyone, this is Jessica from JewelryTutorialHQ.com and Bespangled Beads. Today I'm going to show you how to use a crimping tool to finish your beaded jewelry. And first I'm going to show you why you would want to use a crimping tool. Now this is a traditional method for crimping a crimp tube using chain nose pliers and just clamping it down, squashing the crimp tube flat. And that's great and it works well. But one thing that I don't like about it is that it leaves sharp edges. These corners can scratch you on your neck or on your arm, and it can be really uncomfortable. Using this crimping tool can help you get a nicer finished look, so we can make a nice round crimped crimp on the end and cover that with a crimp cover, which will also make it a lot more comfortable. So starting with a beaded strand, pass the stringing material, also known as tiger tail, through the loop or chain or clasp or whatever it is you want to attach it to, and then pass it back through the crimp tube that you've strung on the end of the strand. And now we're going to pull that short end tight. We want it pretty tight up against the ring, and I usually use my chain nose pliers to get a better grip and pull it pretty tight. Now using the crimping tool, the back part of the jaws where you see that little bump, place it around the crimp tube and squeeze it one time. And you should end up with something that looks like this with a little crease in one side. Now using the front part of the jaws this time, take the crease that you made on the crimp tube and face that towards the back of the plier jaws so that it's facing the hand that's holding the pliers. And you're going to squeeze and basically fold that crimp in half, and you're going to turn it and squeeze again and turn it and squeeze again. So now you should have a nicely rounded crimp tube. Simply trim off the excess stringing material using your flush cutters. Slide down the beads, and then we're going to repeat this process on the other end. You want to make sure your beads are tight so there won't be any spaces between them, but it should still be able to move. And slide on the crimp tube. I'm using 2mm by 2mm crimp tubes. There are lots of different sizes, and it's important to note that different size crimp tubes will use a different size crimping tool. And I'll have more information about that in the notes. So please be sure before you buy a tool, if you don't have one already, that you're getting the right one, or you get the right crimp tubes for the tool that you have, vice versa. So this time, since we've already strung the other end, I'm holding this a little bit differently. I'm holding the crimp tube against the beads because I don't want that to move, and I'm pulling the end tight. I'm going to check my tension again here. You can see it's a little bit tight. We don't want it to kink, so I'm just going to loosen it up before I crimp it. So if it's too tight, there's too much tension, your strand can break. Now again, using the back part of the crimp tool, I'm going to make that little crease by squeezing it one time. Face that crease towards the back of the plier jaws, or towards your hand that's holding the pliers, and using the end part of the tool this time, squeeze to fold that crimp over, and then release and turn, and squeeze, release, and turn, and keep doing that all the way around till you have a nicely rounded crimp tube. So now we've got a finished strand, and this is actually going to be part of a multi-strand necklace, so that's why it looks a little funny that there's only one strand on this big ring. This is a crimp cover. These are 3mm crimp covers, and you just slide it over the crimp tube, and I use my crimping tool again for this. I just gently squeeze that around the crimp, And this leaves us with a really nicely finished end on your strand, which I think looks a whole lot better than just a flat, squished crimp tube. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and I hope that you'll check out my website at jewelrytutorialhq.com and that you'll subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any new videos. See you next time.